Hey guys, this is Javier with the Real Javier Novoa channel where we talk about living free through interiorism, and in a continuation of our series on success stories and testimonies, it's always good to remind ourselves through success stories of ourselves, of our subscribers, and of people outside, of course, the greats. It inspires us and it shows us what the results of these philosophies are, because any philosophy worth its salt will have results. And as much as we talk about and as much as we emphasize living on the interiorism itself, if it didn't have any results, it would still be worth it, but it's still good to show results. And anything that's true, of course, will have results. And if interiorism is true, the inner is the outer, then as there are results on the inner, so they will show on the outer. So this was a great interview, guys. The Neuroscience of Becoming Supernatural. It was done by the Clementi Foundation. It was founded by this gentleman on the right, Mr. Pierre Louvrier, who is a multi-millionaire investor and businessman from Belgium, I believe, who lives in the UK and the Vatican. And he established this charity in the Vatican named after the Venerable Clementi, who was a great saint, peacemaker in Europe, I believe, in the last century. And his foundation is dedicated to world peace. We see what's going on now between Russia, Ukraine, and between other countries, Israel and Palestine. And this foundation aims to bring peace between all parties. That's what we all want. And they invited Dr. Joe Dispenza on, and he gave a great interview. And it shows how basically interiorism and, healing through meditation is going mainstream, because it used to be on the fringes. Now many medical professionals are accepting its validity and looking into it. In fact, the priest on the left is not only a priest, he's also a physician and a psychiatrist, and they're looking into the work of the great Joe Dispenza. They are in one of the former Pope's houses in the Vatican University, which was and still is a great center of science. So the fact that this interview is taking place is amazing. It was done just 4 months ago. And I want you to listen to this because Louvrier, I hope you listen to the whole interview, but just this part. Louvrier tells the story of a miraculous healing using the methodologies of interiorism, using what Joe Dispenza teaches. And he says it was a close friend. I happen to think it might have been him himself. But just listen to this amazing testimony. Also, they go on to talk about how the church was called by Jesus to do greater works than Jesus himself. And why aren't we doing these works of healing? Why is it only people outside the church like Joe Dispenza who are doing these works of healing? It's something that everyone should sit and contemplate on, and we should start doing these great acts of healing. Joe Dispenza teaches us how, and I just want you to listen to this testimony very quickly here.
Life, so to cure someone, as in Latin says, in ervis, verbis, and et lapidibus, as you remember. No? So in words, the words are very important in medicine forever. Words. So words.
And by the way, this is the original intent of medicine. Of course, the modern medical system has become all about profit, all about putting things into people's bodies as opposed to using words and some natural herbs and healing. And so there is a rift between the doctors and medical professionals who are going to be open to this, and those who are just on the corporate payroll who maybe will never be open to it and will just have to agree to disagree.
Instrument for heal someone from the very past. Ervis, so all the things that came from nature, and lapidibus
from nature.
Means, minerals. So minerals. No? So
Minerals.
It's true. So there are many different dimensions in ourselves, in medicine and in the human being. Viktor Frankl, that we spoke a little about him, used to say that
Viktor Frankl,
German psychologist, that the human being are dimensional. No? So dimensional means all of us have a body, so physiological aspects, then psychological aspects that are different, grounded physiology, and spiritual dimension. And spiritual dimension.
Of course,
is
the
not
corporate
only
system
in
neglects
belief
the
or not in
spiritual
God,
dimension.
or some kind of problem with guilty feelings or things like this related with your conscious, but the spiritual dimension is more deeper. Is the relationship with others and the capacity of seeking or yearning or longing for the meaning of your life, and also is the possibility of all the things or many of the things that you are discovering. So we are dimensional, and you speak a lot about dimensions. And for this is very interesting. It's very well related.
Well related, yeah.
Very well related.
I'd like to conclude the podcast now with a little story. And I know this person, I know him quite well. He's skiing, it's in April.
He's skiing.
End of the season. Snow is a bit heavier, and he's skiing with his brother. He runs fast, flips, breaks his neck. First radio shows 3 cracks.
The first radar.
Second radio shows 3 cracks clearly. They call the helicopter, but at that moment, he knows he's going to be operated. And he has to be there with his daughter, who is 6 years old. He knows that daughter might end up alone and might be afraid because the mother is not there. At that moment, he says, okay, whatever is going to come, I accept it, Starts using your methods. Breathing, visioning, and so on.
Just
Start
relaxing
using not
into
your
it.
doctor's method, but your priest method, also is rosary. So that unites.
So what he's doing is he's basically breathing and saying the rosary. So he's calming himself down. He's focusing on sort of a mantra, could be a prayer, a rosary, and he's basically calming himself down. Then when he's calmed down, he's just relaxing into a visualization of what is. Of course, he's already surrendered and released. He said, whatever happens, I accept it. I surrender to it. But then he's going to another film role. He's going to allow himself to say, on this film role, it's a possibility that I'm going to be operated on. But on the film role that I'm now putting myself on consciously, and I don't care what happens on the outer, I'm home with my daughter eating dinner.
His road, the helicopter brings a very famous surgeon there. The surgeon looks at the radios, and the person asks, okay, what's the verdict? I say, look, you have a very complex operation in a few moments. We're getting everything ready. There is 50% probability that you won't survive the operation.
50% you die.
40% probability remaining you'll be in a wheelchair the whole life. And 10% the remaining, for sure, you'll be minimum 9 to 12 months hospital.
12 months in the hospital.
And that person answered very quietly and very serenely. He said, no, I want to be there for my daughter. I'm loving my daughter and I will be back tonight. And the doctor said,
I will be back tonight.
Look at the radios. We have here 2 radios that show the same thing. You need to be operated, and the doctor even asked an alcohol test.
A
to
drug
the
test.
person to there because they think the person is drunk. He's flown into the place where he is going to be operated. In the helicopter, keeps doing his meditation. The person was conscious. Keep doing this meditation. Keeps praying rosary at the same time. And visualize a good dinner the same evening with the person, elevated emotions, and let it go. In the hands of God, in the hands of Our Lady.
He let it go.
Your exact methods, so your words were into action at that very place. They arrive at the airport, they're running, rushing the person into the surgeon, and they make a last radio to guide the surgeons. Some people gather, person gathers and so on, they start, there's a chatter, and then doctors make another radio.
Make
Now,
another radar.
there is something we don't understand. The cracks are open here, on this radio. On the new radios, there is still a trace of the cracks, but they are perfectly closed.
X-ray.
We have made 2 times the radios, we are sure it's closed, you have nothing, we don't have to operate you. But you have to stay 2 days. And the person goes, okay, no, I'm going tonight, as I told you. What
So
happened?
he goes to the complete end. So most of us, if the doctor said, no, you're going to be okay, but you have to stay for 2 days, we'd say, great. But no, he keeps going to the exact end. He said, no, I'm having dinner with my daughter tonight because that's what I imagine, and that's the way it's going to be. That's the way it is. So be it. So it is.
Happens if I go tonight, do I have a risk? No, you have zero risk. You have nothing anymore. And it's impressive indeed how what you're discovering, all the work you're doing, that is what maybe you'd call proto-evangelical, can help people, can empower people. And this young daughter who was panicked when saw the father arriving was so happy. You see, your work contributes behind much more than what you think you could do. And so I'm really grateful for the moment we had here. Thank you, Father, that you came. Your participation to welcoming Joe Dispenza here in Rome was of great help. You're a great specialist of Viktor Frankl. You're a doctor, so having all these perspectives around the table is a great moment. I hope this is only the first of a long series, and we will study with you how...
That's amazing, guys. Amazing interview. Just think like RFK and others, especially in the United States and other countries, are talking about what do we do with these spiraling medical costs? Because we spend more money than any country in the world on healthcare, and yet we have the worst results. Well, what if we could get this into the mainstream, guys, so that people wouldn't even need most healthcare? Of course, it will still be there, but people can realize that they could heal themselves with mind. We wouldn't need any of this. How much better off would we be? How much money could we save as a society? That's why, it's one of the reasons why I think it's important to spread the teachings of interiorism. So, hope you enjoyed that. If you like our channel, please do subscribe, like the videos, share the videos, join this community, get videos of interiorism weekly. And until very soon, guys, this is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa bidding you a wonderful week.